Velkomin kæru gestir, ánægilegt að koma hérna saman í dag og heyra frá Fulbright fræðimannanum Raymond Choo sem hefur dvalið hér síðustu mánuði. Viðburðurinn fer fram á ensku og mun ég núna skipta yfir. Dear guests, I welcome you to this Fulbright forum where Fulbright Distinguished Scholar Raymond Choo will talk about his experiences in Iceland over the past months. Let me note that we are also live on Zoom for those who cannot be here in person. And let me also note that we are recording. We will be taking questions after Raymond's presentation. So for those of you who are on Zoom, you can type in your questions there. For those who are here in person, we'll have some refreshments for you at the end of the presentation. So, Fulbright Distinguished Scholars are scholars with vast experience and expertise in their fields. We're fortunate that Raymond applied to Fulbright Iceland's program in cybersecurity and critical infrastructure, an area which we have prioritized over the past years. He's from the University of Texas at San Antonio, where he is cloud technology endowed professor in the Department of Information Systems and Cybersecurity. His research has received federal funding from multiple U.S. agencies. Dr. Choo is hosted here by the University of Iceland, although I know his knowledge has been widely sought during his Fulbright. We're fortunate to have this opportunity to utilize his vast expertise. So I'm just going to hand the floor over to Raymond.
Thank you so much, Paulina. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for being here, especially given today's weather and also the travel season. So first and foremost, I would like to thank Fulbright Commission Iceland for the award that actually allows me to spend the entire semester in this beautiful country. Honestly, I'm really so. I mean, the thing is, I'm kind of torn between leaving and staying. So the scenery here doesn't make it any easy, and also the friendship that I have established over the last few months, and many of them are actually here in person as well as online, and also some of them are actually traveling at the moment. So of course, I would like to thank my employer as well because they allowed me to work. Basically remotely from Iceland for the last 4 months, and most importantly, my family and friends who have been sort of relating and understanding that I've been away for 4 months. So that's why I can't wait to go home. But at the same time, that's why I say I'm torn into. So how many of you have watched this movie, Fast and Furious 8? That's one. Okay. So do you remember this scene? So do you remember this scene? Yes and no. So basically, in a nutshell, so attackers were actually able to identify and exploit vulnerabilities in these vehicles and then took over remote control of these vehicles and then caused them to crash. So think about it. Is this something that's Hollywood movie a myth, or could this happen in real life? Right. So So perhaps a few years ago, if I was standing here, it would be mostly a myth. But these days, if you read the literature, or even if you go for YouTube, search on YouTube, you find that there are many videos that actually shows, vehicles, especially those that are connected, they can be exploited. There are vulnerabilities that actually exist, and there's a lot of researchers around the world. Research group, they're actually devoting their efforts to identify and exploiting vulnerabilities in these vehicles. This is actually one of many vulnerabilities that was actually found, in the last few years. So this particular vulnerability actually affects Tesla Model 3. And I think just a few days ago, I read in the news that the Icelandic police has a large fleet of Tesla vehicles as well. So think about this. If someone, especially a malicious actor or politically motivated individuals, they decide to exploit these type of vulnerabilities, they can actually carry out a targeted attack, whether against the police or any drivers or owners of Tesla vehicles. I hope I'm not getting into trouble with the Icelandic police for raising this. So cyber attack methods can be broadly categorized into those shown on the slides. So for example, we can try to target the systems and the devices by identifying and exploiting vulnerabilities. So this device and system doesn't have to be big. It can be as small as a mobile device. In fact, let me ask you, who do you think knows more about you? Yourself, your mobile device, or your partners, regardless of how many partners you have?
Mobile device.
Mobile device, yes. Because if I have access to your mobile device, I know where you have been. I know who you have been communicating with, whether consciously or unconsciously. For example, if you use some sort of app, if you walk past someone, the app themselves, they may have communicated. So we know where you were, I mean, what you were looking at in terms of browsing history, in terms of what you were searching for, what your communications are, and so on. So I'm pretty sure none of your friends, your spouse, or spouses will actually have access to those information, right? So mobile device is a wealth of information that can be very attractive to individuals as well as malicious actors. And of course, we can try to target the users as well by using social engineering. So how many of you know what type of apps this is? Maybe a bit small. Okay, yes. Okay. So how many of you actually use these apps? Okay, right. So what do you think are some of the risks of these apps?
Selling your information.
So basically, these are dating apps. So, and again, the risks are somewhat documented. So this is one slide I'm going to show. So as you know, there are many different types of dating apps, and some are more interesting than others. So as you can see in this word that are shown on the left-hand side of the slide, this is a few years old. So we were actually able to identify other users of this specific dating app. So just from this title, you can see that how potentially embarrassing it is if you were to identify your neighbors, for example, who happens to be someone holding a senior position in government, or the rector of a university, or your boss. So potentially this can be used for various purposes, whether it's for extortion or for other purposes and so on. So I'm sure that you have heard of the phrase, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But that's not quite true in this context, especially in cyberspace, because what happens in cyberspace, some may think that, well, a cyber attack is only cyber, it only stays in the cyber dimension. It's not going to affect us in real life. That's not true. Many of the cyber attacks, they have a real world consequence, whether it's physical injury or assault, whether it's sexual assault or physical assault. And this is just one of, if you do a Google search, you can find this is just one of many examples of a real world consequence of a cyber attack. And we actually did a review a while ago, so we actually surveyed the landscape trying to identify what are some of the potential risks that can be posed to users of dating apps. If you're interested, I actually have 3 copies of paper that we can take it. And of course, the risk may not be just at the individual level, because what I've shown in this slide is only mainly for individual users. But the risk can also be at the national security level as well. So there's national security implications. So again, there's quite a few such reported incidents. So for example, shown on the bottom left of the slide, this was an investigation conducted a few years ago, but it was only reported last year. So basically, it revealed that the use of dating apps by military personnel can result in the leakage of sensitive military locations and personnel movements. And again, it's not surprising, right? And there have also been other reported instances of honey traps, espionage, and extortion facilitated by the use of dating apps. And again, think about what information users will share on dating apps, which will be quite sensitive, right? Compared to information you share on apps like Snapchat or WhatsApp and so on. So this information can actually be used for extortion and others. And of course, these days we are also seeing the use of random attacks or random techniques, basically combining social engineering and technical techniques to carry out attacks, such as what I show in on this slide. This is a very recent real-world incident involving North Korean actors targeting a US drone company. And again, this is not isolated. There's plenty of more such examples. And again, what has been reported is only a tip of the iceberg, because there are many examples that are not reported in the media, or they are not even detected at all, because these days, many of the attacks, they stay under the radar. So while some attackers may be lone wolves, but most of the sophisticated attacks, they are conducted by organized crime groups. There are many ways we can categorize them. So at least there are 4 different types of organized crime groups. So what you see on the slide are the first 3. So first, we have traditional organized crime groups making use of technology to facilitate their activities such as money laundering, drug trafficking, human trafficking. I think we have seen quite a few reported instances of human trafficking here in Iceland, at least in the last few years. Of course, we have organized groups of politically motivated individuals, as well as organized criminal groups with different motivations, whether it's financial or criminal. For example, you have online child exploitation groups, which may not be in activity just for financial, but it's mainly for criminal purposes. But one observation that we can draw from many of these different activities and groups is many of these groups, they are very innovative. They are very versatile. Because for law enforcement, usually we have to operate within the boundaries of law. I mean, what the law actually allows us to do as an agency. But that's not the case for cyber criminals. So basically, they are very innovative. I think it's the survival of the fittest in most cases. So for example, if you look at many of the scam campaigns, typically you see a scam campaigns that follows immediately after or maybe even ongoing major incident, for example, a hurricane, Taylor Swift concert, and so on. I'm not sure how many of you have come across some of these. I'm sure you have at least a couple of them in the last few weeks or even last few months in the reports. And we are also seeing an increasing involvement of state-sponsored groups because earlier the three groups I showed, they are mostly loosely civilians. But increasingly, we are seeing more involvement of state-sponsored groups and foreign governments. Without naming them, I'm sure if you do a Google search, you can find plenty of such mentions. So these groups tend to be more resourceful, skillful, and technically advanced. They are also known as APT groups, which is Advanced Persistent Threat Groups. I'm sure some of you in the audience have heard of the APT song, not the same APT. Okay, so do you want to have a guess how many known APT, and the emphasis is known. So how many known APT groups are out there? Yes.
50.
Sorry, 50?
50, yeah.
Okay, anyone else?
I'm sure.
Anyone?
5,000.
5,000. Possibly? Yes, possibly. But right now, at least according to my trail, it's only there are at least 170. Yeah, at least. And again, these are only the known groups. So my trail is actually a US not-for-profit cybersecurity organization. So under a decade or two ago, most attacks tend to be under the radar, but these days, most of the attacks are under the radar because they want to maximize their profits. They want to maximize their efforts. They do not want to be found. They want to exfiltrate data from your systems, from your networks. And again, most attacks are becoming more sophisticated and persistent. As seen in many of these examples, these are all very recent examples that you can find online. For example, in this incident reported by FBI, so this was actually reported in 2024, but then according to the release, the attacks, the group has been in the system for at least 6 years, 5 to 6 years before they were discovered. And again, this is very recent news from Singapore's coordinating Minister for National Security. He actually went on record because many of you know that Singapore is very neutral, so it's somewhat unusual for a senior minister to come on record, to go on record about a high-profile APT attack. So this kind of reinforces how sophisticated, how persistent many of these attacks are. And it can affect anyone, any nations, any companies. So I hope in the last 10 minutes, I've convinced the audience that cyber threats are real. If not, I think I've not done my job. And also, cyber criminals respect no geographical boundary as well. So for users like you and me, it doesn't matter where we are, whether we are in Iceland or the States. Anyone can target us from anywhere. Because under physical crime, you need to be there physically. But cyber crime, anyone can try to steal your data from anywhere in the world. Therefore, it's important for us as a society to collaborate across disciplines, industry sectors, and countries to ensure our personal safety, not just our national security, but also our personal safety as well. Think about the data that you have. So some of the data that's leaked can be potentially embarrassing. It can even cost you the job. So some of you may have read about the news, the Ashley Medicine website from many years ago. Because of that leak, there have been suicides, there have been embarrassment, there have been resignations, and so on. So some of the leakage of the data can be embarrassing or fatal. And this is also one of the 2 key objectives of my Fulbright Award, is basically to establish a cross-country, cross-disciplinary collaboration hub. So that's why I'm really glad that many of my new friends are here today, because I'm hoping that we can continue the collaboration. So my strong belief in the need for collaboration is partly because of my background and also expertise, because I grew up in Singapore. Some of you could tell because I have a very strong Singaporean accent, even though I've moved away for more than 2 decades now. So Singapore is the country known for its melting pot of cultures and cuisine. Food is very important. And also I have the privilege of working in different countries across disciplines and sectors. So it helped me better appreciate the importance of understanding different cultures, different values, and different practices, especially in the current geopolitical landscape. And this also reminds me of the mission of the Fulbright Commission. So it's basically to increase mutual understanding, share knowledge, exchange ideas, strengthen science diplomacy, and so on. And also by collaborating, we will increase the risk of bad actors getting caught and also improving our personal, cyber, and national security. Personal is also very important. So I'm very fortunate to live and work in a city which has a very strong cybersecurity DNA. So before this talk, how many of you have heard of San Antonio? Okay, quite a few of you. Good. Okay, that's really So San Antonio is known for many things. For those of you who are into NBA, you know that we have a very strong NBA team, Spurs. But other than that, I mean, the thing that kind of excites me most is San Antonio is actually known as Cyber City USA. So basically, we are the second largest cybersecurity employer in the whole nation, just after Washington, D.C. So we also have a very robust cyber and national security ecosystem. For example, we have System Air Force, which is Air Force Cyber Wing. We have NSA Texas and a few other agencies in San Antonio, and of course the major defense contractors as well. So very recently, our state governor, the Texas governor, announced the creation of the Texas Cyber Command. And this state-level agency will actually be permanently headquarters in our university, the University of Texas at San Antonio. So I guess this is very telling of a strong DNA, or strong cybersecurity DNA and focus we have both at the city level and at the university level. Because as you know, San Antonio is not the capital city of Texas, Austin is. But then to have a state agency in San Antonio rather than Austin is kind of telling of the ecosystem that we have. And of course, it's not surprising that our university is one of 10 universities in the nation to have all three national centers of excellent destination for NSA and Department of Homeland Security. So basically, we have a center in cybersecurity education, cybersecurity operation, and cybersecurity research. And of course, because of a city DNA and ecosystem, we collaborate very closely with various federal, state, and local partners and agencies as well. And as of 1st of September this year, UT Health San Antonio merged with us. So now, because of a merger, we are the third largest public university in the state of Texas, just after UT Austin, Texas A&M, College Station, and us. So in fact, I've been asked many times, why do I choose Iceland and not another country, especially during my visits, because I've been to a few countries in the last few months. So to me, it's an easy choice, because the Icelandic government has invested a lot in cybersecurity research and education. And this is partly evidenced by the number of Fulbright, dedicated cybersecurity Fulbright awards that we have in the country in the last few years. And of course, I hope that this will continue because it's really important. I mean, cybersecurity is really an important topic. I mean, of course, I may have my bias, but and also, I must admit that personally, to me, the beautiful natural landscape of the country is a major drawback for me as well. So this is actually one of my main motivation for applying to this. And I think I was actually watching this movie as I was applying for the Fulbright award last year or the year before. Actually, this movie was, I mean, the University of Iceland was actually used in the backdrop. So I remember in the scene that a suspect was actually running away in a university campus, but it was a cyber crime or criminal case. But then I can't find the movie anymore. But that's why when I saw the movie, I turned around to my wife or my kid. I said, "Oh, this is a sign because I'm applying for this." Yes. So one thing I'm really glad to see is the emphasis on cooperation and collaboration in the Icelandic National Cybersecurity Strategy. So in my last few months here, I've witnessed the numerous efforts in collaborating across disciplines, across sectors. And I'm going to have, because one of the areas I work in is on digital forensics, so we emphasize on evidence. So I'm going to show you my first piece of evidence. Sorry, too fast. So this is my first evidence of cross-sector discipline and country collaboration in this country. So in my second week here in Iceland, my host, Helmut, who is currently on his way to Germany, and Tom, who is sitting there, they actually invited me to be part of this very exciting cybersecurity event organized by the Icelandic National Coordination Center for Cybersecurity. So a number of SME, small business, small medium enterprise, they actually presented their funded research from NCCC, I think. So again, I walked away very impressed at the range and breadth of projects that were there. And just especially if you think about the size of this country, the size of our population, and also the private sector, to have the breadth and depth is really impressive. But more importantly for me is I get to interact and know a number of key stakeholders in the cybersecurity ecosystem in the country, as well as being the executive director of the European Cybersecurity Competence Centers and Network. So my first piece of evidence. I'm also pleased to share that together with Helmut, Tom, Maurice, also sitting there, Matthias, who's actually online, I believe, and a few others from the University of Iceland, Department of Computer Science, we're actually organizing the 17th EAI International Conference on Digital Forensics and Cybercrime next year at the University of Iceland. So for those of you who are staying around, please attend. If not, help to spread the word. And also, more excitingly, we have at least 2 other former Fulbright scholars to Iceland in cybersecurity involved in this conference. So I'm just going to play a short video.
Welcome to Reykjavik, Iceland. the host city for the 17th EAI International Conference on Digital Forensics and Cybercrime from September 8th to 10th, 2026. Iceland is perfectly positioned between North America and Europe and easily accessible from all over the world. No visa is needed for many travelers. Did you know Iceland is ranked as the most peaceful nation in the world? Reykjavik is surrounded by breathtaking nature. Think geysers, waterfalls, glaciers, hot springs, and volcanoes. Game of Thrones was filmed in Iceland. September is a great time to visit Reykjavik. No winter chill yet, but if you are lucky, you might catch a glimpse of the Northern Lights. ICDF 2C 2026 is hosted by the University of Iceland's Computer Science Department with an Icelandic and international organizing committee. Heads up, the EAI International Conference on Digital Forensics and Cybercrime 2026 submission deadline is already 20th of January 2026. We can't wait to see you in Reykjavik. For more information, visit the EAI ICDF2C 2026 webpage.
For those of you interested in the conference, you can see Tom, who's sitting there, is a PVC chair.
Welcome to Reykjavik, Iceland.
Sorry. So Iceland is an island nation which is very similar to Singapore, where I'm originally from. So I'm port security is an interest to me, both professionally and personally. So as one of my collaboration output in my 4 months here, I collaborated with Helmut and Tom on this paper. So basically, we designed an AI framework to improve efficiency and resiliency for automated container terminals in ports. So this will hopefully will pave the way for future collaboration as well. So I'm sure this is one of many papers to come in the next few years. So one of the things that we love to do, to continue to do, is actually to work with other stakeholders in this ecosystem to see whether we can actually implement a proof of concept or evaluation in the real context. Because what works in the lab may not work in real life application. So we are hoping to actually work more closely with companies to actually extend this and roll this out. And who knows, eventually have a spin-off. So I'm also working with Belinda sitting here on the MOU to facilitate future student and scholar exchange in the College of Int. So hopefully we'll be able to host our first Icelandic Fulbright student or scholar very soon. So as you can see on the slide, our new College of AI, Cyber and Computing has almost 5,000 undergrads and about over 800 graduate students. And the majority of our students are either in AI or cybersecurity. Hence the name of our college is AI and Cyber and Computing. We are also exploring designing training courses customized for Icelandic law enforcement in the areas of drone forensics, blockchain and cryptocurrency investigations, mobile device and app forensics, as well as meta world investigations. So also taking this opportunity to take a step at marketing our new book, which was only published last month. That's why I don't have a physical copy with me. It's actually back home in the States. So I know this is shameless self-marketing, but I can't help it because I'm an academic. So feel free to buy a copy of the book. Of course, it's not all work and no fun. I have a chance to. Okay. I have a chance to attend this very exciting event during my first month in Iceland. This is really an eye-opening experience for me. I guess a smile on our face in the pictures tells 1,000 words, right? Yeah. For the audience who will be here next year, I strongly encourage you to actually attend this event. It's actually an annual event. For more information, see Tom and Maurice in the back. And you can see them in the sorry, it's the wrong one. Yeah, this one. You can see them in the picture as well on Choo's research online. So again, at this event, you can actually find out more about the exciting projects, research programs. They are actually by all the universities in Iceland over there. So it's strongly encourage you to attend. I also have the chance to present at the Icelandic High Performance Computing Workshop 2 months ago, thanks to Maurice, his organizer. We just had one last night as well. So as well as meeting other members of the research committee in this space. So for example, actually, very interestingly, I learned in the presentation, in one of the presentations, that the Icelandic government and community have been and are still very proactively capturing and annotating the local language to train AI models so that the AI model can be more effective and so on. That's really impressive because I've not seen that done in many other countries. Right? So I think that's actually one of the unique things that's going on. So again, this kind of drives home the importance of attending events such as this because you get knowledge that you never get from anywhere else. And also, of course, the networking is very important as well. So I'll be remiss if I did not also mention my seminar at the University of Akureyri, hosted by Gami. One regret is I forgot to take a picture with him. So you can see, I have a picture of him, he has a picture of me, but we just have a picture together. So maybe I'm going to Photoshop it. So hopefully, I'm hopeful that the connections made will actually lead to other collaborations, especially in the digital forensic and policing space. So I also want to acknowledge the inter-country travel grant from Czech Fulbright Commission that allows me to spend a week in another beautiful country, Czech Republic. I just came back on Sunday. Okay, so I visited Brno University of Technology and gave a presentation on blockchain, cybersecurity, and ecosystem building. So before this visit, I was really collaborating with the faculty members. At the university for a couple of years. So it's really good to actually catch up with them as well. In fact, I also met with their dean from the faculty, and we actually discussed about establishing an MOU so that we can actually host visiting masters and PhD students. Initially, we were trying to do a dual masters, but then we realized it's too hard because there's too much challenges, obstacles. So we eventually end up with having an MOU to actually host students from both universities, masters and PhDs, for a semester or two, so that we can actually facilitate joint research and so on. So I guess this is the start of a long conversation, so that we iron out the details. I also attended the Center's Crypto Get Together Conference workshop in Dawson in Prague. Sorry, the event itself has distinguished speakers from Estonia, ETH, Zurich, IBM, Europe, university and government agencies, Czech Republic, and Slovakia. So again, it's really good because I was there as a delegate talk as a presenter, so I'm just sit back and relax and listen to all the different presentations. So one thing I really enjoy most is actually the networking. So actually I met with Professor Varys. He's actually a professor in Maastricht University in Czech Republic, and he's an old friend of my PhD advisor. He's also a Fulbright scholar from Czech to Harvard University many years ago. So again, moments like these are priceless. So I also visited the office of Compulsion Labs, which is the company that owns Mobile ID. So Mobile ID is actually a mobile forensic software. Remember earlier I was saying that if I have access to the mobile device, I can know so much about you. And how I do that is actually using mobile forensic software. So if you want me to prove my point, just leave your phone with me for one day. I promise I will not share with anyone else. And we have a long-standing collaboration even before COVID, because I actually met their CEO in San Antonio, so I actually invited him before COVID to actually give a guest actually in my class. So since then we have a long-standing collaboration. So they have been providing my class free licenses to their software. over the last few years, they have also been guest speaking in my classes and in my training course as well. So in fact, we actually have a DOJ funded training course on IoT forensics, and the next run is actually in next month in San Antonio. So they're actually co-teaching one of the course next month virtually. And also during the meeting, we also explore ways to strengthen our collaboration. So one of the things that we discussed is to co-design a course on mobile and smartwatch forensics, because many of you actually wear a smartwatch, right? So again, smartwatch contains a lot of evidence, a lot of data. So that's why we are actually focusing on that as well. And again, I also invited them to present at the conference because they're working on digital forensics. So most likely they'll be here next year. So talk expect. And of course, I'm also thankful that I'm able to travel to other countries, even though they are not strictly part of my Fulbright awards. So thank you to the Fulbright Commission for being so accommodating. I suspect that if there's the most annoying Scholar of the Year award, it'll be me. So at Korea University, I presented on blockchain, cybersecurity, and had a great time there catching up again with old friends and meeting new ones, and also learning about the broad range of cybersecurity and privacy research that was undertaken by my peers from Asia and Europe. So I really wish we had more time to dive more deeply into the discussion. And in fact, after the visit, I managed to invite one of them as the publicity chair for the conference that we're organizing. And hopefully we are going to have some participation from Korea universities to the conference, because they're also working on cybersecurity and digital forensics. So that way we kind of expanding the ecosystem. So I also visited Lisbon, contributed and participated in 2 panel sessions at an IEEE blockchain conference in Nova Business School. I must say that I was really impressed at the mix of industry and academic participants at the conference, because most of the conference I go to, 90% academics, maybe 10% industry, or even 0%. But in this conference, it's actually the other way around. We have 80%, 70-80% industry, The rest are academia and government. So in fact, when I was there, I felt like I was actually in Silicon Valley, but for blockchain and crypto. So there were actually a lot of startups in the crypto space, like crypto wallet, cryptocurrency, and so on. So I felt like I was in a totally different environment. And in fact, in this panel that I was a part of, I was the odd one out. Other than being I'm the only Asian, I was the only academic. So everyone else actually has at least one startup. No, yes, at least one. Yeah. So that's why I feel like I'm actually among the millionaire or the billionaire crowd, but I'm the poor one. So again, but the environment there, the vibe, the conversation was really, I mean, and again, I really have to thank my commission for allowing me to go on the trip. Otherwise, I would not have that opportunity. So again, this kind of guys spoke the importance of, award like the Fulbright, because that kind of allows you to actually expand. I mean, beyond your comfort space to actually expand your functions and so on. So that's why I strongly recommend that you make full use of these awards that you have. Especially now you're in Iceland, you can kind of travel to different parts of Europe very easily. And of course, I have understood memories of my time here in Iceland. So as mentioned earlier, I'm really thankful to my hosts here at the department for their friendship and for including me in all their activities. So I guess you can see a common theme in all these pictures. There are two F's. Not the bad one, but the good one. Friendship and food. So of course, I would not be able to say I've been in Iceland if I have not visited at least a few of these beautiful places from glacier to waterfall. I think there's a small. And I guess more waterfalls. Yes. And geothermal spas as well. So of course, I hope to visit a few more. I mean, in the next few weeks, when my family joins me in about a week's time. So time flies when you are doing things you really enjoy, and it's almost time for me to return home. So I know I'll miss my new friends here, as well as the fresh seafood and Icelandic water when I'm back in the States. And again, that's why I say I'm torn between going back and staying. So if there's a perfect solution, that'd be great. But the good news is I'll be back next year for the conference. I'm actually looking forward to that. So maybe we should discuss about hosting a conference here every year. So that I have an excuse to come back. So once again, thank you so much for your time, and yeah.
So we have a few minutes for if there are a couple of questions, anybody who would like to jump in. Yes?
I have a question, and hopefully this isn't too political. If it is, just don't answer it. So recently there have been significant funding cuts to the two main organizations that deal with cybersecurity threats in the US government. Has that affected your research, the university program, have things kind of gone on as usual?
Yes, in fact, I think the funding cuts has also affected me personally, as well as many of my peers at the university, and also those working in cybersecurity as well. So personally, I mean, last year I actually have one of my projects funded by DHS, Department of Homeland Security, and I was really surprised because my research is on the use of AI for law enforcement application. There's something to do with equity and basically the sensitive topics. So I guess mine is just one of many stories, one of many unfortunate instances of how the current situation actually has affected our research. But I guess we just have to be flexible and try to find other avenues for collaboration to fund our research and so on. So the short answer to the question, yes, it has affected many of us. And I don't have a solution for that. Hopefully we find a workaround. Maybe because when I'm here, I'm kind of jealous because I realize that Iceland they have access to EU funding. Even Canada actually has access to EU funding. When I was in South Korea, they said that they also have access to EU funding. I said, why not us?
It's getting bigger in Canada.
Yes, right. So that's why I was surprised. So I said, wow, Canada has access. I mean, South Korea has access. Why not US? So I'm jealous.
Yeah, could I ask maybe, do you, after the few months that you have been here and all of the connections that you made and the discussions that you've had, do you have an opinion on what Iceland really needs to focus on right now? What is sort of the biggest thing that in this sphere Iceland could be doing more and that would sort of give the biggest benefit?
And again, totally not biased, cybersecurity is definitely
No, yes, but I mean, with cybersecurity,
Yes.
yeah.
In terms of collaboration, why? Because I think Iceland, as we all know, has very small population. I mean, both in terms of even if you look at the number of students and the size of programs is much smaller compared to many of the university in the US. So I think there's a lot of space for us to collaborate, possible to have exchange of students, exchange of faculty members, whether through the Fulbright Awards or through other mechanisms that we can actually benefit from this collaboration. Possible we can have joint research. We have students coming over to, I mean, either US students coming over to Iceland or Icelandic students coming to US on a larger scale to actually facilitate collaboration. Possible, we actually have a dual degree with Tech Monterrey, one of the top private university in Mexico, where students actually spend the first year in their home institution, second year in their host institution, and at the end of 2 years, they get 2 diplomas. So that's why I was thinking that if we are able to establish some sort of similar mechanisms where students can have the best of both worlds. So basically, they spend the same amount of time, almost the same amount of money, but then they have 2 diplomas instead of 1.
So investment in education and cybersecurity, that's music to our ears, I think. Maybe we should have you meet with our Minister of Higher Education. I think that's all we have time for, but before we end, we want to present you with a little gift from Fulbright. Here's a small
Thank you.
Fulbright swag and your Fulbright Iceland pin.
Oh, I was looking forward to that.
So first I want to say thanks to our audience, both those who those who are here in person and those who are with us virtually. And I'd like to say that we have been really putting a premium on cybersecurity for a number of years now. In the Fulbright Commission, we identified it about probably 8 years ago as a priority area for us. And we're really happy that we've been able to bring really high caliber experts like Dr. Choo over to enrich Icelandic academia and society in this area. And I'm very thankful for the Fulbright program, which allows us to make an impact in cooperation between the US and Iceland in this field. And of course, we had Raymond mentioning that we're hoping to do an MOU. We would love to see more Icelandic students go for graduate education in this field in the United States. And we, of course, at Fulbright love to do whatever we can do to facilitate that. I want to just end this for now and say once again, let's give a round of applause to Raymond. A fabulous grantee, and we look forward to a long cooperation with you. Now you'll be joining the Fulbright Iceland alumni group, right? So very exclusive and wonderful group of people. You will be coming back to Iceland. We look forward to seeing you then, and hopefully also at events that we may hold in the US in the future. So this is only the beginning of what we hope will be a long and fruitful cooperation. So thank you all for coming today. This is our last Fulbright Forum of the fall semester, but we will see you again in the new year. And until then, we'll continue to forge a better future with Fulbright. Thank you all.
Thank you.